In 1939, the again set Penguin book solved two branches out of its trademark soft-cover fictitious and White Pelican non-fiction titles to try its brush at UK journey guides. Emma Jane Kirby attended Kent Inna at first publication of one of the guides in her brush, to see how lot Britain has modified with Planet War couple. Meeting fixed in my car in which should be the quick alley of the METER25, I slide downward at the orange and white lid of the 1939 Penguin Manual to Kent, Sussex and Surrey on the occupant chair. And I miracle if its writer, S.E. Winbolt, is looking downward on me complacently, resembling me how his offered path out of London was by Blackheath and Shooter's Mound and from there on the direct ancient Roman way via Welling and Crayford to Dartford. I'm due in Gravesend at 10:30, but as I'm previous, I drag in to Dartford for a coffee, promise myself I'll include a fast slide at the brasses and the plaster dark and white Raymer Memorial in the chapel how my manual says I really miss. I try the chapel doorway knob surely and am amazed while it resists my shove. Ever blocked, says a Polish man potable a can of ale in front line of the store following doorway. No secure to keep chapel outdoor these days. Up I'd set out on my round, I had speak on the books to James Mackay of the Penguin Collectors Community. They're large entertainment, he said me. Partially since they represent a community house no much longer down there. They include public story documents of their own. Recall the counties southward of London were territorially and social lot more than individual in 1939, in their own economies. I believe on Mackay's speech as I go history the Mercy Shops and LB store how group closed the chapel end of the top road. My manual has requested me to mention the wooden houses, I dong tea place lot, though the Georgian built ox inn, although by a new behalf, yet serving me a nice coffee. I refer to a comrade client how the city seems really peaceful to me and he shrugs. Passenger waste. All plant in London, dong tea they. Winbolt surely informs me in the manual how in the region I am to discover contemporary dust mills, chemistry plant and manufactories of general mechanism. Regional historiographer Christoph Ox roars smiling while I speak him which I'm waiting. We are in Gravesend, east of Dartford, and I'm connecting Ox on one of his famous walk tours of the region. He reminds me how in 1939 the famous Bluewater Trading Centre closed Dartford was yet a pit and adds how nearly all the regional production how Winbolt saw, besides for a document plant manufacturing bathroom rollers, has now lost. Dartford was a city how done things, he remembers. It created and intended things. It was a young pioneer in pharmaceutical and medical. But by 2002, the big plant how had outdoor in 1889 was demolished and he's now creature constructed up in rank of habitation. Ox stops his round external the spectacular Gurdwara Sikhism shrine, accounting to his round team how he's one of the greatest Sikhism temples external India. I ask an old team term how the region has modified above her life expectancy and she doesn't fluctuate up reply, foreigners. So lot foreigners currently. And all the shops and human beings include lost. At Loddington farmer close Maidstone, James Blacksmith, whose household has been agriculture there with 1882, says how out of a overseas labor his apples, pears and cherries fair wouldn't get selected. In 1939 my grandpa would include had horses hauling sledges in the orchards and down there would yet be lamb gliding, he says. We'd include had 20 regional human beings residing and work complete time on the farmer. Present I've got 2 complete time British personnel and the otherwise are transitory pickers of East Europe. I speak him how my guide waxes lyric on Kent creature the kindergarten of England in its racing and cherries, and Blacksmith replies how really few racing are grown up in the region these days. The cherries include modified too much, following cautious cultivation programs to do them greater, sweeter and superior capable to encounter the demands of the contemporary delivery circuit. So include the apples, lost are the Lord Derbys, Coopers and Bramleys, and in their location are orchards of New Zealand apples Love King Gala and Jazzy. As I ask Blacksmith which his grandpa would include done of such a changes, we're aborted by a noisy stormy sound. Over us, a tigress butterfly biplane circles the farmer. Blacksmith laughs, his grandpa utilized to fly tigress moths in 1939. In comparison with a contemporary journey manual, the authors of the 1939 Penguin Shire Guides do not propose the vacationer a listing of bed and breakfasts or suggested restaurants. The expressiveness, as James Mackay of the Penguin Collectors Community points of, seems to be no so lot on receive out and making things, but quite fair receive on to the following location. As arrogant a specific standard of expertise of readers and a wish for private enhancement, the guides as well weight their readers to stake more than or less than the identical view. They can be rather judgmental and not fair purpose and actual, says Mackay. Get, for sample, the morn of Winbold in Willing how Kent charcoal had not started to mutilate in its collieries the isolated rural area western of transactions. Down there's an incomprehensible flare of annoyance in Jim Davis's eyes while I recite the sentence out noisy to him. Davis was Kent's recent work miner and he consumable above 30-year work subterranean. We encounter in the countryside of Aylesham, constructed specifically in the 1930s to building Kent's mountain society. Human beings overlook we had pits there at all, he says. Down there were 4 persons pits outdoor in the Shire in 1939 and they involved hundreds of men of all above the nation, consisting his own dad who passing of Wales. Kent became a smelting jar, he says. We ended up in our own vernacular. Though present you can ever speak a man of Aylesham since they include a pleasant gentle emphasis house a mix of Geordie and Welsh. Our Penguin manual may include tut-tut at the scars how the pits leftward on Kent's scenery but now a big mountain legacy musée is creature plan at Betshanger to do certainly not one forgets Kent's part in the charcoal production. Davis is a guardian. In the nice city of bread, wherever I get dinner, Winbold seems lot more than at household in the unusual, tight, uneven gateway bending idly over here and down there. I try 15 times or so to recording myself talk on the major road but stormy, pulsating traffic and an huge side of Deutsche tourists ecstatic photographic in the property agent's windows sink out my vote at every try. At bread, the tire of lifetime swings sluggish, claims Winbold, up addition sniffily, besides at the several hours while tourists get down of big coaches in the marketplace location. Drive southward to Dover, wherever my manual promises how Mel Mountain Range and sea breezes unite to strengthen, I'm affected by how lot signs down there are for the canal tube and ferry boat terminals, and think how various the holidays of our 1939 nomadic people would include been had the tube existed before World War couple. In an uncharacteristically condescending time, Winbold suggests I get a outing and stretch out on a rug entering the solar canal. And he's there on the top of the White's Cliffs, at the Domestic Confidence Garden entering the ferry boat terminus, how I encounter reporter and Dover Free Terry Sutton. Same bathing beach and promenade were so peace while I was a 10-year-old kid in 1939, he reminisces. Currently we include the A20 fleeing near it and 2.5 millionth freight transport upcoming via Dover each year. Terry remembers creature shipped to the shops as a little boy while down there were 28 bakers in Dover's city centre, 25 butchers and 40 greengrocers. Currently, he says, he's all fingernail stick and leather tanning salons. Dover's people has dwindled with Planet War II, the Presidio and pits intended how in 1939 down there were several 40,000 population, because present down there are just about 30,000. Air journey, Terry reminds me, annihilated Dover's significance. In 1939, nobody who was nobody came in the nation via Dover, and they were frequently rich human beings, but following air journey, the seaport lose its significance. The freight transport give riches, of year, to the region, but we've lose the travel, very. Sadly, I don't include period to trip the magnificent lock present, but I speak Terry I will fair whistle history the Regent terraces on the promenade, that my manual recommends, up I keep. Terry shakes his chief. A lot didn't pull through the shelling and bomb, he warns me. They'll yet see lot of slight holes all above the city wherever properties got ruined. The sun shines out now as I walk through the pebbles bathing beach, and a few enduring swimmers are braving the water supply, time slight boys in fishery nets previously searching for crabs and alga. A little kid crying disconsolately as her ice pack cream conical tumbles of her stroller, and who, lie on his behind versus the hot shingle, is whistle a kennel rhythm. Abruptly 1939 doesn't appear how length back. But how acute for such holidaymakers of 80 year back, maybe majestically compressing their marked new penguin guides in their hands, how it should all end so savagely in the commencement of warfare. Though they would include, been aware of the preparations creature done for dispute, the book's authors offer us no illusion how war is upcoming. And while it did go, how was the end of the Penguin Shire guides? They were once closed of selling, since of the hazard of the comprehensive region maps declining in foe hands. Amongst the manual's rare illustrations, an eager penguin in a walk at here hurries on his boyfriend. Someone's stopped to feast a type or a house. Love their writer. Maybe the penguins too knew how the period for holidaying was fleeing of. Recall the volume is selectivity, not comprehensive, apologizes Winbold. Or carry in me if several of yours favorite villages or means of communication are not turned on. Down there are fair many decades too that I should include favorite to manual thou.